In this video, we will be adhering to the process and applying qualitative methods we learned about in the previous videos. Your learning objective is to apply critical thinking skills to understand the contexts and scenarios where different research designs and methods are most appropriate. We've stressed how important it is to plan ahead and think of all the steps required to complete your qualitative study. We'll review the path here tailored for focus groups, so you can get a better idea of the research plan. First, begin by defining the purpose of the study. What is your goal here, and always keep your research question in mind. Next, determine the sample of participants you would want in your focus group. What are the key characteristics for inclusion? If you are doing a study, for example, on grocery store workers, define who could be eligible. Maybe it's the minimum number of years they've worked at the store, what geographic location their store must be in, their specific job title, or other factors. This provides you the sampling frame from which you will draw participants. Figure out how many focus groups you'll be able to conduct and what is an ideal number of participants in each. Send personalized emails and track responses so you can understand how many people you reached out to, and of those, how many agreed to participate. This is known as response rate. Consider if you'll be offering any incentives and what other budgetary constraints you may have. Develop your questions to guide the discussion during the focus group. For a focus group lasting about 2 hours, you may have around 12 to 15 questions prepared. You should try to use simple language and encourage a variation in the points of view. Document everything. You can write down things such as your opening remarks, the introduction to your study, and the ground rules for your focus group. A member from your research team can document information about the participant responses, the order of those responses, and nonverbal communication that occurs. You should also plan to have a recording device and inform your participants of this beforehand. These are ethical practices related to informed consent and should be outlined and approved by an institutional review board before you begin your research. Finally, you'll wrap up your focus group. This is where everything you documented comes in handy. You can summarize major points made during the discussion and offer to share back final results when they are fully analyzed with the participants. Qualitative research is focused on making sense of lived, observed phenomena. Purposeful sampling is when participants are chosen based on key characteristics. There are certain participants who may have more information and be better able to answer your research question. For example, with the grocery store workers, you could limit your sample to those who have worked at a grocery store for 2 or more years, as opposed to new hires, if you are trying to understand a phenomenon related to that specific work environment. As a researcher, always consider bias in all of its forms. Sampling bias is when your sample is not systematically representing your target population. You want to recruit from a diverse population to avoid overrepresenting one specific subgroup. Think of the time and context in which participants are recruited so you reach a wider audience of who is available. And again, reflect on your own biases and how they may influence participant selection. You have to remain flexible because sometimes your plans for the number of participants may not pan out. This is okay as long as you are documenting your efforts, have sound reasoning as to why your conclusions could still make sense, and propose solutions for future study. In other words, let's think of the term theoretical saturation. Take a minute to reflect on what you think this means. The term may sound complex, but it is the point in your data when no new information is emerging. Rather, saturation of new insight has been reached. This can indicate sufficient sample size. Again, our goal is to maximize understanding, not just trying to reach what you think is an ideal sample size. All of these relate back to your specific research question, but keep theoretical saturation in mind when you are deciding whether or not you have a sufficient sample size. So when deciding which method is best, ask yourself the following question. What method makes the most sense for my research question? What is an alternative method or combination of methods? What is feasible given my resources, time, and skills? So let's imagine you are a public health researcher working in a community where there's a lot of hesitancy about the COVID-19 vaccine. Your goal is to understand the reasons behind this hesitancy, identify any misconceptions, and gather insights that could help design better interventions to increase vaccine uptake. Think about the strengths and weaknesses of each method below. Which one do you think could be the most effective for understanding vaccine hesitancy in this community? Please pause the video and think through each of the options. There may be certain methods that make the most sense here, but there is no right or wrong answer. Interviews can provide detailed, personal insights. Focus groups can explore the social influences for vaccine hesitancy. Listening sessions can build a foundation of trust and identify those key issues that arise for participants. And open-ended survey questions can capture a wide range of perspectives. These are all different methods that can be combined or used independently to answer your research question on vaccine hesitancy. Here are some helpful and free resources for you to explore further. Now, let's move on to analyzing qualitative data in the next video.